All right, Genesis 13. And Abram went up out of Egypt, he and his wife, and all that he had, and Lot with him, into the south. And Abram was very rich in cattle, in silver, and in gold. And he went on his journeys from the south even to Bethel, unto the place where his tent had been at the beginning, between Bethel and Hai, unto the place of the altar which he had made there at the first. And there Abram called on the name of the Lord. And Lot also, which went with Abram, had flocks and herds and tents. And the land was not able to bear them, that they might dwell together, for their substance was great, so that they could not dwell together. And there was a strife between the herdsmen of Abram's cattle and the herdmen of Lot's cattle, and the Canaanite and the Perizzite dwelled then in the land. So just want to highlight, you get repeated reminders of the Canaanite and even some of the other peoples as you read the story. Verse 8, And Abram said unto Lot, Let there be no strife, I pray thee, between me and thee, and between my herdmen and thy herdmen, for we be brethren. Is not the whole land before thee? Separate thyself, I pray thee, from me. If thou wilt take the left hand, then I will go to the right, or if thou depart to the right hand, then I will go to the left. Now, here's where I think Lot's made a big mistake. He should have yielded to his elder. But Abram gives him the choice, and he's going to make a choice out of the flesh or out of sight. So verse 10, And Lot lifted up his eyes and beheld all the plain of Jordan, that it was well watered everywhere, before the Lord destroyed Sodom and Gomorrah, even as the garden of the Lord, like the land of Egypt, as thou comest unto Zoar. So I'll highlight here again how this is written well after the fact. Moses has written this much later, and he's mentioning something that's going on before something that's going to happen later, the destruction of Sodom and Gomorrah. He also says, even as the garden of the Lord. So many people believe that Canaan is where Eden originally was. Whether it was or not, doesn't really matter. God has picked the place where he wants to dwell. Verse 11, Then Lot chose him all the plain of Jordan, and Lot journeyed east, and they separated themselves the one from the other. Abram dwelled in the land of Canaan, and Lot dwelled in the cities of the plain, and pitched his tent toward Sodom. But the men of Sodom were wicked and sinners before the Lord exceedingly. So Lot has picked what he thought was the best choice, but this is really going to be a strain on his life and his family, as we will learn in an upcoming chapter. And again, the wickedness here is highlighted, and God is going to do something about that shortly. Verse 14, And the Lord said unto Abram, after that Lot was separated from him, Lift up now thine eyes, and look from the place where thou art northward, and southward, and eastward, and westward. For all the land which thou seest, to thee will I give it, and to thy seed forever. And I will make thy seed as the dust of the earth, so that if a man can number the dust of the earth, then shall thy seed also be numbered. Arise, walk through the land in the length of it and the breadth of it, for I will give it unto thee. Then Abram removed from his tent, and came and dwelt in the plain of Mamre, which is Hebron, and built there an altar unto the Lord. So you have a couple of things here. One is God needs to separate Abram from Lot, just like he needed to separate Abram from his family when he was in Haran and even in Ur of the Chaldees. So 13 often is a number that represents separation. You'll find the same concept in the book of Acts, chapter 13. I'll leave that for other study. And then also here, basically God's confirming to Abram the promise of the land, and he basically says, look everywhere that you can see, it's all going to be yours, and then go and walk through it, just like you would when you bought a property. You go walk around and look it over. So that's what we have happening here.